Welcome to the Insomnia Project. Sit back, relax, chill, and listen as we have a calm conversation about the mundane so that you can just feel free, to drift off. And hopefully this podcast will help you find your way to sleep. It's the only podcast where we hope you don't get to the end of. I'm your host, Marco Timpano.
I'm Amanda Barker. We hope you don't get to the end of. I like that.
Thank you. I want to talk about napkins, Amanda.
Oh, well, who doesn't?
Well, I've been dealing with napkins for quite some time, having worked in the restaurant industry for many years. But I wanted to ask you, what kind of napkins do you enjoy?
Well, it's almost by default because there are certain napkins that I don't enjoy.
Okay.
So the ones I do enjoy are a really nice cloth napkin, a smooth, flexible, not too starched or anything, smooth, flexible cloth napkin is my jam.
I see. I like a bistro napkin.
What does that mean?
French bistro napkin. So they're cloth and they're white and they usually have a dual stripe, one a very thick stripe, one a very thin stripe of either red or blue. It's the classic bistro napkin.
They end up at our house a lot.
That's right. But those aren't actually the ones I like. I've had those, and I have ones that aren't. I don't like there's a type of napkin that doesn't have spongeability. I don't know how to describe that. It can't soak up things because it's shiny.
So it has a synthetic fiber in it?
Yeah, it's synthetic, and it doesn't, if you spill, you can't quite soak up with it.
So you like a napkin more to soak versus a napkin to protect?
I like a napkin that does both. So it can protect, but if you have to dab, let's say, oil off your chin, it'll soak it up. Whereas those synthetic ones, sometimes they don't soak up. Or if you spill on the table, let's say, some red wine, and you don't want it to sort of work its way down to your clothing, you have a napkin that can take care of business.
Yeah, like Bob Seger. Should I throw out our synthetic napkins? Because we've had them about 10 years and I didn't know you didn't like them.
These ones here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of them. But no, I mean, I thought you enjoyed them. So as far as I'm concerned.
I enjoy them because, I don't know, I bought them somewhere cheaply. I just enjoy them because I like reusing napkins because it's an environmental choice.
Sure.
Although if you wash them a lot, I'm not sure. But I think it is still.
Yeah, well, they certainly are serving their purpose without being a one-use item. I want to talk about folding napkins now.
Okay.
So I'm gonna walk you through some folds, Amanda.
Please.
Okay. So if you have a napkin that's cloth, and you're say you're going on a picnic, or you want to take some cutlery with you, or silverware, however you call it, a knife and fork, let's say.
Yeah, my neck of the woods where I'm from, we always called it silverware, even if it was plastic. We called it silverware. But Canadians tend to use the word cutlery.
We do use cutlery. I use cutlery anyways. And so what you're going to do is you're going to take your napkin, and generally speaking, they're not quite square. They're a little bit longer on one side. Would you say that's square? Maybe that is square.
I think that is.
And you're going to make a triangular fold. So you're going to make a triangular fold. Now, realize the reason I say they're not squares, when you make a triangular fold, sometimes you have, so this is square because I made a perfect triangle. Sometimes you'll have a little bit of edging that goes beyond the triangle. That's fine. Do not worry about that.
Okay.
Then you're going to take your cutlery. I'm going to use a pen in this case, in case you heard that little clip sound. And you're going to put it right in the center of the triangle, not at the point, but at the bottom, sort of equidistant from the point. But if you just draw a line from the point going all the way down, the fattest part, the center part of the triangle. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Then you're going to take one end, so not the top triangle, but the side triangle, if you will, or side point. It's not quite a triangle. And you're going to fold it towards the center. And you're going to do that with the opposite end and fold it over so that you're essentially covering the knife, the fork, the spoon.
Okay.
And you still have your top point of the triangle. So I guess this would be an isosceles triangle. Is that correct?
Wow.
Yeah, it's not a right angle triangle, so we're going to say isosceles. So then you're going to slowly roll your cutlery in the napkin towards the top of the triangle.
It's like origami.
Kind of. And then you have a little, what would you call it? Tube of napkin with cutlery in
Like
it.
the perfect cutlery napkin roll.
And then you can put that in your basket, in your bag, if you're going on a picnic, in your picnic basket. And it'll keep everything together so that you don't have jangly cutlery in a bag, but you have both the napkin and the cutlery you would need.
Perfect.
Now, there's other napkin folds I can describe. So let's go through the napkin fold that you often see at banquet halls.
Oh, wow.
So that's
I didn't know there was a difference.
Well, there's different types of folds you can have for your napkins, right? So depending on what type of restaurant, they'll have different types of folds. Some of them like to put them in the glass, in your wine glass, so that they appear to have a little bit of a point to it.
Oh, yeah. I've seen that. Looks like a little bunny head in the glass.
Yeah, there's that. That's kind of a fancy napkin, sort of origami or fold. Then there's the one that's sort of the classic fold from if you go to a banquet. So what you're going to do, and I'll describe it so you'll know, it kind of looks like peacock feathers fanned out, or the fan fold. I'm not sure what it's called, to be honest with you. So you're going to take your napkin and you're going to do almost as if you were making a paper fan.
Okay.
So you're going to fold a very thin sort of rectangle. You're going to fold it over the opposite way, and you're going to do that almost like you're making a little accordion.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how you would describe that. How would you describe
It's an
it?
accordion fold, I believe it's called.
So Amanda's watching me do it, and you're going to do it about halfway to your napkin.
Okay.
Then you're going to take your napkin and you're going to fold the two ends of the accordion fold upwards so that they are touching each other. And the key here, you could do it two ways, and it'll make sense once you're doing it. And I don't know which way you want it. You want it so that you have a bit of the accordion fold available to tuck. Then you're going to take the unaccordion part of the napkin. You're going to fold it towards the base or the bottom, and you're going to tuck it in to the accordion flap that's available.
Okay.
That's where it gets a little bit complicated. And then you're going to take your napkin and you're going to rest it on the plate, and it will open up like a fan.
It's like a seashell.
Like a seashell or a fan. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Wow.
And so that more complicated fold I was telling you, Amanda, acts as the backbone of the napkin. So it helps to hold it rigid on the plate.
Amazing.
And you've seen that, if you've gone to weddings, oftentimes that will be the classic fold that they like to do.
Yeah, that fan at the table. So do you have a favorite?
I'll be honest with you. Let's say we were having a dinner party, which we've had. I used to do the fan fold because, years ago when I worked in restaurants, that was the way to go in the 90s, let's say.
Right.
But now it's a little bit ostentatious for my sensibility.
It's a bit much.
It's a little bit much. I think
it's extra.
It's extra. I think if you're having a very grand celebration, like a wedding, like a retirement, like a graduation, sure, go all out with that fan fold. But if you're having a guests over for dinner, let's say a dinner party of 6 or less, what I like is just the classic, I'm going to call it classic, but I don't know if it's classic, rectangular fold on the plate.
Okay.
Take your napkin, fold it in half, then you take that napkin, and this is indicative of if there's a pattern on your napkin. Then you fold it in, you fold it. So you fold it halfway in, the other side you fold halfway in, and then almost like you have two book covers, you fold that in.
Oh, wow, look at that.
And it's just a square. And if you have a pattern, you want to showcase the pattern, and you put it on the plate.
How do you know? Were you taught any of these, or were you taught them at work, at home?
So, I've always been good with origami type exercises.
You're an amazing folder wrapper.
With paper, yeah, like wrapping. Like I think it goes to your ability to wrap presents or deal with paper in a tactile way.
Yeah.
So I've always had a fondness for it.
You're a builder almost. You can build with your hands. I think it comes from that type of brain.
Perhaps. But I love making a sharp crease in paper when I'm making, let's say, a card, or, when you were a kid and you would make a Valentine's Day card and you would fold the paper and then cut it in a circular pattern coming towards the center to make a heart once you opened it up. I was always pretty good at that.
You're really good at that. I remember when I first met you, I didn't know you very well. And you had given me, I had a lot of things to carry, and you created for me a carrying system out of 2 bags. I'm sure you don't remember this, but you knotted 2 bags together, and you kind of made a handle with one bag so that it extended the other bag. So one bag became a full handle, the other bag became a bag. And I was in awe of how quickly you kind of just rigged up this thing and said, here you go, now you can carry this. And I said to you, how did you know how to do that? And you were like, well, idle hands. You said something like that.
Maybe that's it too. But so you take that skill of folding paper, then you go to a workplace where folding napkins is part of your duties. And you've got to do that work pretty quickly because you have a whole dining room to set.
Right.
And you don't want to waste time. But it does require a bit of artistic ability, the minimal amount, I guess. And so some people are better at it than others. And every restaurant that you work at, or every hall that you work at, banquet hall, let's say, has their own style and way of doing napkin folds. So I just taught you 3 very basic ones. But some places will have even more complex. And sometimes those ones I'd be like, oh, this is really, we're spending a lot of time doing this. And the effect isn't so great. There's one that looks kind of like a king's hat, or like a crown, or like a bishop's hat, I should say. I don't know what the bishop's hat, it's called something.
A chapeau?
No, it's called something. It's called, the bishop's hat has a name. But anyways, it looks like
It sounds like a pub, the bishop's hat.
Oh, I would drink at the bishop's hat. Imagine you go to the bishop's hat pub and they make their napkins everywhere on the table as a bishop's
like
hat.
a bishop's hat.
Yeah. That one there is kind of like, I would need a napkin to really illustrate that one. And I haven't done it in a while, so I'd have to practice. But there was that one, you'd put it on the plate and it would just stand erect and tall like a bishop's hat. So that's one of the folds I remember doing. That was probably my least favorite fold. But my favorite, I always loved the fan fold, the peacock feather fold.
Yeah.
There's something wonderful that when you put it on the plate and it opens up and you see the fan, how pretty that is.
But you need a really, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I might be, don't you need a really starched napkin to hold that?
The starchier the napkin, the better the folds will be, and the more...
Sounds like a proverb.
Yeah, the more pristine the napkin art will look.
Okay.
No.
So, do they starch them in banquet halls?
Some places will starch them, and they wash them, they starch them, and then they put them through. You know that machine? You may have seen it on television. It used to be an old style washing machine or aspect of your washing machine where you take your clothes and you'd put it through these rollers, and it would squeeze the water out.
Oh yeah.
Well, a lot of places that deal with napkins have really large rollers, and they'll put the napkin in there, and it doesn't squeeze the water out. Rather, it irons it on both sides. And so if you've ever been to a restaurant where you have a napkin and there seems to be a little bit of a crease ironed into the napkin, most likely it went through those 2 rollers, it got a little bit kinked, and therefore it ironed a small crease into your napkin.
Oh, interesting. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I've seen it done. I worked at a golf club that they had an area for just washing linens and napkins. And I watched the workers do that, and it was so hot in that room, and I would bring them water. And they would be grateful.
Oh, wow.
Ice water.
That's amazing. Do you remember when we worked on cruise ships, we would take our laundry to the bowels of the ship,
That's
and
right.
they were doing our laundry, but they would do, the whole ship's laundry. So it was a lot of, obviously, sheets and bedding and stuff, but also a lot of napkins and tablecloths, and you can just imagine on a massive cruise ship.
Yeah.
And it was I always felt badly for them because it was in the bowels of the ship, as we were too. But
Sure.
so like it was a very hot, humid, windowless room that they worked in.
I ruined a suit once by taking, if you have a suit, make sure the cleaners that you take it to know how to handle suits. Mm-hmm. The other thing I remember about working on cruise ships, and it's sort of related to napkins, is the towel art.
Oh, yeah.
We would see people do.
Yeah, like resorts too. The swan is a big one in towel art land. The monkey.
I still don't know how they did the
And
monkey.
they have the monkey hanging from the light sometimes. They usually incorporate like rose petals. One time they incorporated for my birthday, do you remember, jewelry?
I don't actually.
Yeah, it was like a necklace and earrings. I'm not going to say it was nice jewelry. It was not, but I was like a little bit taken aback. Like, do I get to keep this jewelry?
I see.
Yeah, the monkey is the one I remember the most. Certainly the swans, or the two swans kissing, is a big one. What other ones have they done?
And I've seen the swans done in napkins as well.
Oh,
in napkin
wow.
art.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other towel art that I've seen in resorts. I think I've seen, usually it's like if they can, I think I've seen like an elephant.
Yes, I've seen an elephant.
Yeah, like anything with that you can roll. So like the tusk of the elephant
I
kind
think
of
I
thing.
saw a rhino once.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Snake.
Snakes are pretty easy. I think I could take a towel.
It's like balloon animals. What's the easiest thing you can do?
I was never good at balloon animals. I will say that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's not my.
You're more fabric, less latex.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I'm not good at any of it, so I'm in awe of all of it.
Sure. Okay, so if you were to do napkins for a dinner party, what would you do? What would be the design that you would do? Do you just fold them and put the
Give me the napkin and I'll.
Sure.
So I would.
Just put the cutlery on top of a napkin, or
Yeah, I would fold it. So I'd be like, oh, okay, napkin. I'd fold it lengthways, and then I'd probably fold it again lengthways for this one, and then I'd fold it in half, and you got yourself a napkin.
okay, and then you would put your cutlery on that.
Just on top.
I don't have a problem with that at all.
That's how we were taught as kids. Like, we weren't taught anything. That's why I was asking where you learned it.
Oh, okay.
Because my mom didn't teach us anything fancy. She didn't really have much time for things like that. So she just would tell us to set the table. And so it's just a matter of folding it and then getting the knife and spoon usually on there and then the fork on the other side.
See, because I worked in restaurants since I was
Young.
17, I think.
And even before that, you worked in like fast food restaurants.
Oh, that's true. But I'm talking about a proper restaurant where you would have linens. Mm-hmm. We were so used to making folds that when my mother had a party, or let's say Christmas dinner or Thanksgiving, I would fold all the napkins and put them on the table, and she would always be very grateful because
Amazing.
it would look fun and interesting.
Amazing.
And I don't have a problem with the fold and the cutlery on top of it. Now, do you put that, when you make the napkin fold that you just described, would you put that on the plate with the cutlery on it, or on the side?
No, on the side. We never put it on the plate. Because then you just have to move it off to put the food on the plate.
How do you feel about napkin rings?
I used to buy them. I used to think they were a neat gift and a neat thing to own. And then I realized I never used them.
Oh, okay.
But I do like the idea of a napkin ring in that you can sort of stuff the napkin in there. And I feel like it looks good no matter what because it looks intentional.
Sure.
Because it's stuffed in that napkin ring. But you don't see napkin rings much anymore.
You don't. I love them for holidays. And
yeah?
When you go to someone's house on Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever you celebrate, and they have themed napkin rings, or let's say Thanksgiving, and it's a turkey, and the napkin becomes the turkey's tail, or a pumpkin, and you're putting the napkin through the pumpkin. That's always fun to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe we should bring napkin rings back and become napkin ring people. But I feel like it's just more things that are going to take space.
Maybe. I think if you do that, you get, if it's a concern about the space, you get napkin rings that are universal, that it doesn't matter when the season or whatnot, like an Elisa Peretti style napkin. Is that her name?
Elsa
Peretti style.
Elsa Peretti. So
Something.
like a silver smooth kind of napkin ring.
Sure, clearly not.
That's
her
a pretty
design.
high-end
Yeah,
napkin ring.
Well, if
Like
I could,
at Tiffany's. Yeah.
if I could pick, the napkin ring, maybe it would be that, or a similar sort of rip-off of the napkin ring. Amanda's hitting a errand.
I didn't put it there for the record.
There's a plastic drinking thing on the floor, and Amanda managed to give it a little
Whap it with my foot.
kick.
I don't know if you could hear that. Could you hear that?
I heard it, so I think the mic would have picked it
Okay.
up. So that would be, we get 6 of those, we keep them, and we use them all the time.
Yeah? Do you think we'd use them all the time?
Well, not for each other.
Well, it's mostly each other. That's what a marriage is.
No, I know, but okay, I'm talking about, okay, so you would use napkin rings for everyday meals?
No, I wouldn't. That's why we don't have any.
We actually have some really nice napkins we bought in Montreal. I really like those napkins.
Which ones? The red ones?
Yeah,
We bought those in Montreal.
we did at Simon's.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember buying
I
them.
remember buying them.
That's where those came from.
They were available in blue or red, and they have almost like
I
a
have no memory of that.
tiny check pattern.
Yeah. They're great. I like them. Here's my thing.
Sure.
Here's the number one thing I look for in napkins.
What's that?
Ones I don't have to iron.
Sure.
Those red ones, somehow they're absorbent, but we still don't have to iron them. And the reason I have these white ones is because I don't have to iron them. Because never mind starch. Starching isn't going to happen, but I'm definitely not going to iron them. Whereas through the years, when I was younger, I would buy, beautiful sunflower napkins or whatever, thinking I'm a grown-up now. I'm going to have napkins and napkin rings. And then I realized I'm not a grown-up because they went through the wash once. And then I was like, oh, they look bad. They're all crinkly at the seam. But I'm not going to be ironing I don't iron my own clothes, so I'm definitely not ironing napkins. I don't have time, space to iron. I don't like ironing.
I don't mind ironing.
I know. It's weird how much I don't like it, but I don't. It's an extra step that I'm not. If I can live a life where I don't have that extra step, then that's the better life for me.
I was just talking with a friend, Rob, about ironing,
I
and
know.
we both enjoy ironing. Mm-hmm. Would I want to iron a whole bunch of napkins? Probably not, because we use them so frequently. So to iron the napkins would be,
Right.
a daily occurrence.
Right.
But-
One more step in the
But I guess
cooking.
if you had a plentitude of them, you could just iron them for the week. Mm-hmm. But I believe the napkins we have don't need to be ironed, like you said. And so there's a functionality that works really well with
I agree.
napkins. You do have some beautiful paper napkins I saw that you used recently when you had some friends over.
I do, yeah. I got some nice sort of palm leaf napkins.
Monstera leaves.
Are they Monsteras?
they're Monsteras.
Yeah. They were pretty. I think I got them at the dollar store, honestly.
Oh, really?
I think so, yeah. And just because I knew we'll have people over this summer and might as well grab some napkins. That or the grocery store. I can't remember which.
Those look more like grocery store napkins.
Maybe, but they weren't expensive. And it's just an extra little look at us being fancy. But that's me being fancy printed paper napkins.
Do you usually have Christmas printed paper napkins? I feel like we do.
We do sometimes, yeah. Just if I have, because Christmas tends to be a time, not so much recently, but tends to be a time where people will just drop in.
Sure.
Are you around? We have something we wanted to bring you, a cake or
Can we come by for coffee?
a bottle, yeah. Or we haven't seen you and it's been 2 weeks and we just need to debrief about our crazy families, And so inevitably I'll be pulling something out of the fridge or the freezer, putting it on a plate, kind of setting it up. Here's coffee, here's some cookies, so-and-so made, whatever. And so for that, I like to have some Christmas napkins on hand just to sort of make it, a little bit more special.
Sure, festive, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let us know about the napkins you use and what you value and like in a napkin if you've listened to this episode in its entirety. You can always drop us a line on our Instagram feed or on Twitter at Listen and Sleep, at the Insomnia Project. You can Facebook us. You can do whatever you want to show us your napkins. Of course, we're thrilled whenever we get anything like that. Is there something that you want to tell us about a napkin fold that we might not know that's been in your family for years? whatever you do with your napkins, if you just use them to wipe your mouth or if you just use your sleeve, we're with you the entire time. Thank you for listening to the Insomnia Project. I'm Marco Timpano.
I don't use my sleeve and I don't condone that. And I'm Amanda Barker.
And we hope you were able to listen and sleep.